the Federalist is we mentioned that is that where Ben Domenech?
Yep.
Is that him?
EIC.
So Ben Domenech, who has gotten in on the trust fund baby gravy chain with the relentlessly untalented Meghan McCain, is also he's an editor,
Publisher
of the Federalist, which is a disturbing little window into the the windows into the morally bankrupt, horrifying conservative psyche are literally on display for us 24 hours
It's like
a day.
the thinking man's Breitbart.
The thinking man's Breitbart. The people who, it's uncouth to use racial slurs in front of the help, but we still should
but only
deport
just.
them from the country. But only just. I appreciate the Jew humor of Curb Your Enthusiasm. They should not be allowed to leave L.A. They recently published a column by a guy named Tully Borland. And he begins in this way. I just want to note, as always, hypocrisy arguments are totally irrelevant, but these are people that would go around and say that people like us have no moral foundation. I do just need to index that, right? Because we do things like support the rights of transgender people to be who they are and not be physically, legally, or sexually terrorized, as an example. That would make us immoral. Crazy and immoral relativists. So let's go read some very, very morally grounded and upright thinking from Tully Borland at the Federalist. Why Alabamans should vote for Roy Moore. I have a 14-year-old daughter. If I caught Roy Moore doing what was alleged, for starters, I would kick him where it counts. Some real patented conservative humor right there. That said, I don't think it's wrong to vote for Moore. So I guess if you found Roy Moore trying to pick up your daughter, you'd kick him in the nuts or where it counts, and then you would vote for him to be one of the most powerful people in the United States. I'm going to argue, this is Borland right now, I'm going to argue for a very unpopular, even shocking view that even if Roy Moore did what he was accused of doing, Alabamans are within their rights to vote for him and shouldn't let Democrats and never-Trumpers shame them into not voting.
I'm doing this because the Federalist needed this opinion to be written, and I need the money.
Yeah. I was the one who was willing to attach my terrifying neckbeard to this column in a desperate attention whore grab. But literally everybody needed this column written in conservative media, and here I am to do it because I have the moral backbone of someone who is facilitates Honduran and child molestation. What?
Someday I'll have to explain this to my 14-year-old daughter when she's older, but right now she needs tickets to go see Justice League.
Right. Here's the thing we know and should admit from the start. In his early 30s, Moore had a penchant for dating teenagers. Right.
A penchant.
Yeah, good point. Apparently, this was not uncommon occurrence during this time. In fact, this practice has a long history and is not without some merit if one wants to raise a large family. That links to an article which basically, do we have the article that he links to? That's fine. Wait, this is it? Is this from the same piece, though?
Yeah, it's a quote, what he says, and then the quote from.
To have a large family, the wife must start having kids when she is young. The husband needs to be well established in order to support the family, in which he will typically need to marry when older. Consider Keith Burgess Jackson, philosophy professor at UT in Arlington, accounts of his own grandparents. What's the big deal about a 32-year-old man courting a 14-year-old girl? My maternal grandmother was 15 years old when she married and 16 years old when she conceived her first child. Her husband was 41 and 42. They had 10 children during the next 20 years. This was normal back then. I'm sure it was normal in Alabama 40 years ago as well. Age of consent in Alabama even today is 16 with parental consent. I'm sick to death of people imposing their own moral standards on people in the past, whether it's Thomas Jefferson, Robert E. Lee, George Armstrong Custer, and boom, here we go. This is the old school I'm not racist. Martin Luther King Jr. Boom! Or Roy Moore. Okay. So I honestly, a part of me just can't even fucking process this. If you cannot understand that I understand why maybe for psychological reasons you want to write an account that makes you feel like your grandfather, that your literal life spring did not come from a creepy act of pedophilia. I actually get that psychologically. But we have another thing called evolving standards, both legal and moral. And thankfully, we are in a country where generally, outside of the Republican Party and outside of apparently a lot of people in Republican media, where we recognize that that type of age and power disparity, and I would say even when you're 14, basic physical disparities still at that point, are still very much in play. This is actually the type of talking point that's used when people are demonizing the Middle East and Muslim countries. And sometimes there's actually valid criticism. Like, this is the type of practice that is misogynist and abusive of children, and we want to de-incentivize it. It's very interesting how the right have become the true enforcers of moral relativism. They are the ones who are making no basic distinctions. It's like, hey man, it's all historically contingent. What is morality but a giant socially constructed play for power domination anyways? Now I'm going to go try to fuck a 13-year-old and give the Mercers a tax cut. These people are a clear and present danger to everything that we should value as a society. It's disgusting.
Hi, folks. Sam Seder here. We still need your help on our Patreon page. YouTube ads have come back, but not nearly as much as we had before. So if you can help us out, any little bit helps. Head over to our Patreon page right at this URL, and you'll help us keep helping you by making videos